Hello. So I keep getting this pop-up coming up about using the microphone. Got a reply from the IOPC. Are you still... Click photo booster. Oh my god, it's an effort. I've got a reply from the IOPC. More fucking lies. Yes, they are. I mentioned about the address. They're still on sale up Manchester Way. So it's all the same people working for the place. That was the IPCC. Where's the ashtray? Oh, for God's sake. Sorry, terribly sorry. Forgot the ashtray. Now I've got the email up underneath this, just in case I need to go back to it. Yes, I have. I'll try not to. She's actually gone, because I'd sent 11 points. She's actually pretty much gone through. She's missed bits out, and I keep calling her she. It's the same lovely signature, which is explained. They don't have to. They don't have to sign things. They're above the law, because you queried our letter indicating it was not legally binding. However, the IOPC operates as an administrative system, and so is not subject to the requirements you have suggested. Now, you notice there they don't go into detail about what I requested, which was obviously that it should be signed. So that's a bit sort of, bit bland. Let's gloss over the detail. Let's not answer any question directly. Fucking hell. Now, if you like, obviously, you can go back and watch my reply to the IOPC where I actually read the email out. Point 1. If contacting the CPS is restricted and you need to make contact with them, you may want to consider taking legal advice about how that can be done. No, they've broken the law by saying I'm not allowed to speak to them. You fucking moron. There is no reason on this earth, whether legally or otherwise, that I should not be allowed to speak to the CPS if I'm being taken to court. Point 2. The IOPC was set up by Parliament to consider appeals made by the public about complaints that had previously been considered by police forces. Where there are indications of misconduct in the evidence, then we can consider recommending or directing misconduct proceedings. So, unlawful warrants, unlawful arrests, ignoring evidence, tampering with evidence, lies. No, none of that's misconduct now. No, not according to the IOPC. She does mention... she. Let's just call her she, right? It's going to be easier. She does mention the phone call later on. I've actually had to put phone call next to the paragraph because I wasn't at all sure what it was about. I had to go back and read the email. The legal system set up in the UK allows, therefore, to be different standards of proof to match the nature of what is involved. You heard it here first, guys. The balance of probabilities is an accepted threshold and is the one that applies to our work. I'll just repeat that. The legal system set up in the UK allows for there to be different standards of proof to match the nature of what is involved. I mean, really, you've either got the evidence that someone's guilty or you haven't. That's pretty much the standard of evidence as far as I could see it. Or at least that's what I thought happened until recently. This is groundbreaking stuff. This was when I wasn't allowed to give any evidence. Evidence had been tampered with. The police could just say what they fucking wanted. A warrant doesn't even have to have, well, it only has to have the correct address of the property on it. Nothing else needs to be right on it. But luckily, there's different standards of proof to match the nature of what is involved. I apologise for the varying spelling. Point 4. I apologise for the varying spelling of the officer's name. That was a case of human error. That's how I know she didn't watch my video. Because I said that's exactly what they'd say, didn't I? Oh, that was a mistake. And again, you notice the words PC Harmon have not been mentioned. So they've not actually confirmed that's who they're on about. See, I've said it before, it's always in what they don't say with these people. I've considered the evidence for your appeal, including your letters of complaint and your appeal amongst other evidence. That doesn't make sense, does it? I've considered the evidence for your appeal, including your letters of complaint and your appeal amongst other evidence. No, I missed that the first time. That actually doesn't make sense. The legislation about appeals only allows me to consider the evidence that was considered by the investigating officer. So I did say at the time when I was writing that email that was going to be, there was 2 or 3 things that went in as a fresh complaint. You're not allowed to make complaints to the IOPC about the police anymore now, because they've totally fucking ignored that. Keep lying in print, guys. I mean, it's really... It's possibly the worst thing you could do at the moment, but then that does seem to have been the track all the way along. Point 6, if you intend to make a complaint to the Police and Crime Commissioners, then you will need to send them any material that you feel is relevant. If you do not have copies of that evidence, then you should mention that item in your complaint, and the PCC will try and obtain that from whatever source is necessary. Now, all you get back from the Police Crime Commissioner is the Chief Constable wouldn't have been involved to that extent, even when he puts his name on the summons. He wasn't involved to that extent at all. Didn't know his name was on the summons, I dare say. Because when that police officer phoned me up, I asked who would have their name on the summons, and he said whoever was running the case. So he's obviously a lying bastard as well. Forget that was called. It was a week before, if you can find it, it was a week before PC Whelan came round, which I think I called illegal arrest, copper doesn't know the law. But a week before that, a copper phoned me up. I think it was the previous weekend. And lied about everything and then hung up. And I'd seen them sitting outside at the end of the cul-de-sac bit. So they'd been sat there for about 20 minutes before they phoned me up, I think. Copper caught out lying, something like that. It is stated that whoever is running the case, their name would be on like any summons or warrant or stuff like that. As I pointed out, point 7, as I pointed out in my letter, the phone was seized as an item of evidence and went through that system rather than the normal custody recording system for possessions. I took it out of the evidence bag in front of me. Hopefully, that's a point, actually. I never got a receipt for any of the stuff, to be honest. Hopefully the police will be able to clarify any issues when they respond to the complaint you say you have made. No, they lost all the CCTV footage, love. So If something is seized as an item of evidence, it's a different system from custody. So no one who's ever had evidence seized out their home, out their hand, or whatever, has ever had a receipt for it. You heard it here first. They're getting fucking dangerous now. Point 8. If you want dictionary definitions for the words that you mention, then you would need to find one of these yourself. Those yourself. Copies of the book you mentioned can often be found in most public libraries. Ooh! Get those claws out. I think it is a woman. So I asked, I mean, they don't have an answer for that. That's why they've not answered it, basically. I asked, just to get this precise, please then provide the Oxford English Dictionary definitions of not agreeing and disagreeing. They know they've fucking lied about that. You know, essentially, there is a slight difference, yes, but not when you're talking about something like this. So they've lied about that. So just got all fucking sarky about that. Aren't we feeling brave? Still can't sign a fucking letter though. Can you put your name on it? Point 9. This is when it gets really good. Your presumption is incorrect. As I pointed out in my letter, you were arrested for a different matter and interviewed in that respect. It was not a situation where you were forced to attend a voluntary interview. Yes, but I was arrested for the same thing that they wanted to have a voluntary interview with me about. So really I was arrested for refusing to attend a voluntary interview. Dear. It's not looking good, is it? Point 10, this is the one about the phone call. We have to consider the evidence we are provided. The level of detail that we might go into in this regard depends upon the nature of the allegations. Well, you're talking about a recorded phone call, basically. I mean, the allegation was that it had been tampered with. The counter evidence presented and whether other evidence indicates that tampering might be a feature of the case. So now at this point, they're actually talking about whether tampering or evidence that's been tampered with is an issue, or whether we should just completely ignore it, which they're firmly doing, by the way. In this matter, there was no evidence pointing in that direction. So there's not the slightest bit of doubt that phone call, watch it if you haven't already, I think it's called PC Harman Liar Confirmed. There's not the slightest bit of doubt that phone call was, the recording of that phone call was not tampered with. Nothing in any way would suggest that whatsoever. That's another paragraph that means nothing. The level of detail it might go into in this regard depends upon the nature of the allegations, the counter evidence presented, and whether other evidence indicates that tampering might be a feature of the case. I mean, you're talking about one thing, you know. It's not she's just got that out of one of their fucking guideline books. The officer who arrested you told you quite clearly you were under arrest when he spoke with you at the doorstep. As a result, that aspect of the case has been dealt. That wasn't what I asked. God. They're so blatantly just lying about shit and ignoring shit. What I asked was, just to save you going back through the whole original email, it was going back to August 2016 when this whole thing kicked off, basically. And I was saying, so which is it then? Should I have been aware I was under arrest because I got in the back of a marked police van with uniformed officers present? Or should it be the later story now, which is coming out, the update, that they'd questioned me, so regardless of the fact they hadn't charged or arrested me, they could just fucking take me to court. And she's focused on one of the later arrests, I think. I don't know. I mean, again, no names mentioned. Because they're all corrupt, vile, fuckface, lying wankers. So there we are. There's your comedy for a Saturday morning. I wasn't expecting that. Well, I would say they wouldn't answer, but really, they've just done a page and a half of nothing. I shall reply to that in due course. Don't get sarcastic with me, public fucking servant. Fucking wankers. Right. I'll see you all later.